Hello everybody, welcome to Bravo Plant-Based Channel. I am Chef Bravo, and today I'm going to be doing candied pecans. This is something that was from the video last week when I did 3 recipes with beets, and in one of them I used some candied pecans. And I didn't think anybody would want to know how to make that, but sure enough people ask. And so that's what this video is about. I hope you enjoy it. All right, so candied pecans. You probably have had this in the past where, you know, in a restaurant and whatnot. So typically you get any sort of candied nuts by putting nuts together with like maple syrup, brown sugar, butter kind of thing. And then they get baked in the oven, at a low temp. And then that sugar sort of concentrates, crystallizes, and now you have these crunchy, very sweet nuts, okay? So, and I'm essentially gonna do the exact same thing for you, except we're gonna do it in a True North approved manner, all right? Okay. Now, having said that, I always like to teach my stuff so that there is, what's the word? Not variety, but
options.
Options, not options, but
Variations.
Can't see your head.
I don't want to see my head.
Oh.
It's perfectly fine. So variations of different things. So flexibility kind of thing. So I'm going to show you that as we go along. All right. The first part of this is we're going to start with some parsnips. Okay. And I'm going to quickly peel this guy. We got 1, we have 2. So I'm just gonna cut the top and bottoms here. Okay, and now I'm gonna cut them longwise. Now I'm just gonna make sort of strips, like nothing fancy. We could even go further and cut them in half if we wanted to. And then into a baking dish, which is going to cook at 350 degrees. Okay. So now that I have the parsnips in there, as you see here, I'm also going to add some shallots. And I just need to do a quick chop on these, nothing special. You could use other onions, certainly. I had to pick one onion to put on here, and I picked shallots. But you know, we've done this with red onions. We've done it with leeks. You know, the onion is really there just to give it a depth of flavor. Okay. We do a little bit of vegetable broth. It's covered with aluminum foil. The idea behind putting a little bit of the vegetable broth in there is to sort of do a combination of steam and roast kind of a thing. Okay. If you don't do any broth in there, they start to burn. They stick to the bottom of the pan, and they'll be partly burned, partly not cooked all the way through. Ta-da! Okay. So after you cook them in the oven, okay, it was funny. I had this in the oven, and Estella was like, God, it smells like tuna in here, like we're cooking tuna here. And then Luciana's like, God, it smells like goat in here. And I took a moment, I'm like, yeah, it does smell a little goaty. Parsnips have that, you know, earthy kind of thing. The reason you would not necessarily want to put them in the microwave, certainly be a lot faster, yes. But there is a little bit of that roasted kind of effect that you want. You know, you can never develop that in a microwave, all right? So you want to check them, put a knife in, it should go in and out without any resistance. Okay, so they're really nice and soft, okay? Parsnips have this earthy yet sweet flavor. I like eating them raw because it's got that savory kind of umami kind of thing. But after you cook them, they're really sweet. We could theoretically just add a little bit of thyme, maybe some parsley, maybe some basil, just a little bit of herbs, okay? And this by itself, thank you. And this in itself is a great dish, okay? I could eat this by the big plateful, okay? So this here, it's a great side dish for like Thanksgiving, really any sort of regular old day that you want to do. So this on its own is a great dish, okay? So we'll set that off to the side here.
Is that a starchy vegetable?
It is a starchy vegetable.
Okay.
So that's the parsnip part, okay? Set it off to the side. Now we're gonna have to use our imagination a little bit, okay? I have some dates here. This is a Datey-Mustard Dressing, okay? I have dates, I've taken the pits off, okay? Into the pot they go. And then we add some water to this. And we're basically gonna make a date tea, so to speak. So you would put that on the stove, let the sugar transfer from the dates into the liquid, okay? And then we strain that. And that's what I have here. So this sort of, all right. So can everybody sort of imagine simmering this with some water and then straining it and boom, here we go?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You guys have good imagination. So we'll set that one. Okay. Now the trick here is to decide how you're going to use this. Okay. If you had both of these going on at once and they sort of finish together and you want to use it now while they're still hot, certainly we can do that. So at this point we go parsnips in the blender. And then we go mustard, okay, because this is a Datey-Mustard, so this is the mustard part. We use some of our stone ground, no salt added mustard. And I'm gonna give you a quick confession. We do like to add a touch of yellow mustard because it's got more of a true mustard sort of flavor. And because it's only a little bit and it's gonna get spread out, you know, over a large amount of volume, the tiny bit of sodium in here sort of spreads out and then it's still okay.
Could you use mustard powder and vinegar?
It doesn't have that same flavor, but you could. I mean, try it, and maybe that's a version that you like better than this, and if you do, by all means, yeah. All right, and then liquid. If you look at the recipe, you'll get the exact measurements. I never, 99.9% of the time, do not cook using a recipe. So, see, I could tell that there's not enough liquid in there because it's not moving. So then I go, no problem. Just add some more. And then we give it a stir. The reason I don't use recipes is because I need to do this as I cook along. A recipe is really just a guideline, but this right here, this little instrument is really your true guide. I want to have a good balance between the sweetness of the dates, but I need to see that mustard come through. And right now it's mostly sweet, so. This is still a little thick, so we'll add the last to that. And don't tell Alan. We're gonna add a little touch more of that. Just in case somebody thinks about this, in a pinch, you could use some yellow sweet potatoes, like a Hannah sweet potato. It does not come out as good. We've done it. Parsnips will work best, but in a pinch, sweet potatoes. better, much better. So if you do it as the recipe calls, make sure you're using a spoon to taste as you go along. If I'm not mistaken, I'm looking here real quick. The recipe will say this many parsnips. 4, I believe. Calls for, no, let me see, page 96. It'll say 6 cups of peeled, coarsely chopped parsnips. Okay, parsnips throughout the year will not necessarily have the same starchiness level as well as the sugar level. Okay, different parts of the country might, produce different, parsnips. So it's hard to make it exactly the same as the recipe. It's always why I always, cook using spoons as I go along. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So now let's suppose that there. Now let's suppose you're not entertaining a group of hungry people, and you make this and it's nice and hot, and you're like, oh well, here you go. We have some steamed veg and we have a nice dipping sauce for your steamed asparagus and green beans. And you go, oh wow, that's pretty good. Excellent. Okay. Well, there's another use for that. Or you do allow everything to cool down completely. Okay. And then you get yourself a salad. And then you go, okay, great. We're gonna do some Datey-Mustard Dressing over the top. This, by the way, it's a little thicker than I'd like it to, but it actually will work best for the for the pecans. Okay, so now you have a dressing to go, or a dipping sauce, or just some beautiful, roasted parsnips. Okay, but we want to get to the nut part. I have some raw pecans, okay, and I have some toasted pecans, okay. Can you guys see the difference, the shade of color?
Yeah.
Okay, the raw ones look a little bit paler, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now, before we do the candied kind of trick, I always like to toast them for 2 reasons. Toasting nuts will always sort of bring out more flavor out of them, okay? A raw pecan will never taste as good as a toasted one. Okay. But also because there's one ingredient in here that I took out. Water. Okay. So when we take water out, the flavor also intensifies. Okay.
Do you toast them yourself or do you bind them?
No. We toast them ourselves.
Okay.
So when we dry them out, what we've created is a situation where this guy now can absorb more. Okay. And what we want it to absorb is the dressing that we're about to put on it. Okay. The more that it absorbs, the better. Okay. Is that self-explanatory? Yeah, good. Yeah. Mixing bowl, toasted pecans, and
The mustard sauce.
dressing. Now there is no recipe for this. This is just something I came up with a while ago because why? Because I did that beet thing demonstration, and I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this dish, and then we'll do a roasted beet salad with arugula, and boy, that really wants some, candied pecan nuts, So I was gonna toast them, just do some toasted nuts over the top. But that day we happened to have some Datey-Mustard Dressing. I thought, I bet you it'll work. I'll toast them, sort of slather them on, and then put them back in the oven. And sure enough, they did. They did work. Go. Do not use a knife as a spoon to stir.
You need another one?
No, I won't ask you to wait. Get up again. Don't worry. Okay. Now, the trick here is I toasted the pecans again in order for them to be able to absorb more of that dressing. Okay. In order for it to absorb, what do they need?
Heat.
Heat? No.
Okay.
Time. They just need a little bit of time to absorb.
Oh,
Okay. So once you have them on here, let them just sort of sit 10 minutes. That's all you need. Okay, 10 minutes for the moisture to go back into the nuts. Okay, you could do them with just raw. Okay, however, the water that's already in there is going to sort of prevent from more of that dressing to be absorbed. Okay, so you leave them alone there for 10-ish minutes. Then we put them in a pan with parchment paper or one of those sill pads. Okay, spread them out. You want them one layer. Okay, you don't stack them. You want them now at this point to get really nice and dried up. This is the most important part of this whole process. Okay, we toasted them at 350 degrees, and it probably took 3 minutes. Okay, so from here, from the raw state to this 350, about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, it doesn't take very long. However, at this point, when you take the nuts out of the oven, make sure you turn that oven down to 200 degrees right away. Okay, because you want that oven cool down. By the time your 10 minutes have passed for them to absorb that the dressing, okay, your oven will have cooled down. Okay, you put it back in, and then it takes somewhere in the 25-30 minutes. Okay, 200. You cook them any higher than that, it's too hot. The sugar in there starts to burn before the nuts get nice and crunchy. Okay, so here we go. So this is what you're looking for. And now they get this nice and crunchy.
And sweet.
Sweet. They will not be like what you remember eating a candied pecan. Okay. Yes. That's like sugar with a hint of nut, maybe. Okay. These are nice roasted nut with a hint of, the sweetness. Okay. So we go back to the salad. You're like, oh yeah, let's put some nuts on it.
Oh, croutons.
Croutons, sure. Okay. Now we got something like that going. Do be careful if you make these.
Yeah, you may eat them all.
You may eat them. So if you're gonna make this, like, if I made them, it's because I'm gonna spread it out to everybody. If I make this at home, they will not last. Okay.
They're good to make for Thanksgiving.
Right. So if you have a lot more willpower than I do, by all means, make as much as you want. But like, I just want to keep talking and eating. All right. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please hit the subscribe button. There you go.